Chapter 4 The Keeper of the Keys. Boom! They knocked again. Dudley jerked awake. "Where's the cannon?" he said stupidly. There was a crash behind them, and Uncle Bennet came swinging into the room. He was holding a rifle in his hands. Now they knew what had been in a long thin package he had brought with them. "Who's there?" he shouted. "I warn you, I'm armed." There are a pause, then smash! The door was hit with such force that it swung clean off its hinges, and with a deafening crash landed flat on the floor, almost completely hidden by a long smacking mane of hair and a wild tangled beard. But you could make out his face, glinting like black beetles under all the hair. The giant squeezed his way into a hut, stooping so that his head could brush the ceiling. He bent down, picked up the door, and fitted it easily back into a flame. The noise of a storm outside dropped a little. He turned to look at them all. "Couldn't make us a cup of tea, could ya? It's not been an easy journey." He strode over the sofa where Dudley was sat frozen with fear. "Budge up, you little lump," said the stranger. Dudley squashed and learned to hide behind his mother, who was crouching terrified behind Uncle Bennet. "And here's Harry," said the giant. Harry looked up into a fierce, wild, shadowy face, and saw that a beetle eyes was clicking in a smile. "Last time I saw you, you were only a baby," said the giant. "You look not like your dad, but you got your mom's eyes." Uncle Bennet made a funny rasping noise. I, I demand that you leave at once, sir," he said. "You're breaking and entering." "Oh, shut up, Dursley, you great pump," said the giant. He reached over the back of the sofa, jerked the gun out of Uncle Bennet's hands, bent it into a knot as easily as if it had been made of rubber, and threw it into a corner of the room. Uncle Bennet made another funny noise, like a mouse being trodden on. "Anyway, Harry," said the giant, turning his back on the Dudley, "a happy birthday to you. Got something for you here. I must sat on at some point, but it tastes alright." From an inside pocket of his black overcoat, he pulled a swirly squash box. Harry opened it with trembling fingers. Inside was a large, sticky chocolate cake with "Happy Birthday, Harry" written on it in green ink icing. Harry looked up at the giant. He meant to say thank you, but the word got lost on the way of his mouth. And what he said instead was, "Who are you?" The giant chuckled. "True, I haven't introduced myself. Lucius Harry, keeper of the keys and ground at Hogwarts." He held out an enormous hand and shook Harry's whole arm. "What about that tea, eh?" he said, rubbing his hands together. "I'm not saying no, thirst nor stronger if you got it, mind." His eyes fell on empty grat in the shivering script Pascal in it, and he snorted. He bent down over the fireplace. They couldn't see what he was doing, but when he drew back a second later, there was a roaring fire there. It fills the room, damp, hot, and prickling lights, and Harry felt the warmth passed over him as though he sunk into a hot bath. The giant sat back down on the sofa, which sagged under his weight, and began taking all sorts of things out of his pocket of his coat. A copper nail, a Scotchy package of sausage, a poker, a teapot, several cheap mugs, and a bottle of some Mare's liquid, which he took a swag from before starting to make tea. Some Soon the hut was full of a sound and smell of sizzling sausage. Nobody said a thing while the giant was working, but as he said the first six fat, juicy, slightly burned sausage from the poker, Dudley Frenched a little. Uncle Vernon said sharply, "Don't touch anything he gives you, Dudley." The giant chuckled darkly. "Ya great pumpkin of son don't need fattening any more, Dudley. Don't worry." He passed the sausage to Harry, who was so hungry he had ever tasted anything so wonderful, but he still couldn't take his eyes off the giant. Finally, nobody seemed about to explain anything. He said, "I'm sorry, but I still can't really know who you are." The giant took a gulp of tea and whisked his mouth with the back of his hand. "Call me Hagrid," he said. "Everyone does. Like I told you, I'm keeper of the keys at Hogwarts. You know all about Hogwarts, of course." No," said Harry. Hagrid looked shocked. "Sorry," Harry said quickly. "Sorry?" barked Hagrid, turning to stare at Dudley, who sank back into the shadows. "It's them I should be sorry. I knew you wasn't getting your letters, but I never thought you wouldn't know about Hogwarts." For cry out loud, did you never wonder where your parents learned it all? "Learned what?" asked Harry. "Learned what?" Harry thundered. "Now wait just 1 second." He had leapt to his feet. In his anger, he seemed to fill the whole hut. The Dudleys were coiling against the wall. "Do you mean to tell me," he growled at Dudley, "that this boy knows nothing about anything?" Harry thought this was going a bit far. He had been to school after all. His mark wasn't bad. "I know some things," he said. "I can, do math and stuff." But Hagrid simply waved his hand and said, "About our world. I mean your world, my world, your parents' world." "What world?" Hagrid looked as if he was about to explode. "Thirdly," he boomed, Uncle Bennet, who had gone very pale, with something that sounded like Mickle's. Hagrid stared wildly at Harry. "But you must know about your mom and dad," he said. "I mean, they're famous. You're famous." "What? My my mom and dad wasn't famous, were they?" "You don't know. You don't know." Harry ran his fingers through his hair, facing Harry with a bewildered stare. "You don't know what you are?" he said finally. Uncle Bennet suddenly found his voice. "Stop!" he commanded. "Stop right there, sir. I forbid you to tell the boy anything." A braver man than Vernon Dursley would have quailed under the furious look Hagrid gave him. When Hagrid spoke, his every syllable trembled with rage. "You never told him?" Never told him what was in the letter Dumbledore left for you? I was there. I saw Dumbledore leaving at Dursley. And you kept it from him all those years? Keep what from me? Harry said earnestly. Stop! I forbid you! Yelled Uncle Bennet in panic. Aunt Petunia gave a gasp of horror. Oh, go boil your head, both of you, said Harry. Harry, you are a wizard. There was a silence inside the hut. Only the sea and the whistling wind could be heard. I'm a what? Gasped Harry. A wizard, of course, said Hagrid, sitting back down on the sofa, which groaned and sank even lower. Um, an untumpkin good one, if I say, once you've been trained a little. With a mom and dad like yours, what else could you be? I reckon it about time you read your letter. Harry stretched out his hand and at last to take a yellowish envelope addressed in emerald green ink to Mr. H. Potter, the floor, Hunt on the Rock, the sea. He pulled out the letter and read. Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Head Miss Master Albus Dumbledore. Order of Marine First Class. Grand Zoic. Chef Warlock. Sophomore Mugwump. International Gauntlet of Wizards. Dear Mr. Potter, we are pleased to inform you that you have a place at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Please find enclosed a list of all necessary books and equipment. Term began on a step 1 September. We wait your owls by no later than 31 July. Yours sincerely, Minerva McNaggle, Duty Headmistress. Question exploded inside Harry's head like fireworks, and he couldn't decide which one to ask first. After a few minutes, he stammered, What does it mean they waked my owl? Garfing gobbles, that reminds me, said Hagrid, clapping his hand to his forehead with enough force to knock over a cart horse. And from yet another pocket inside his overcoat, he pulls an owl, a real life, rather buffalo-looking owl, a long quill and a roll of parchment, which he tongue between his teeth. He scribbled a note which Harry could read upside down. Dear Mr. Dumbledore, giving Harry his letter, taking him to buy his things tomorrow. Where is horror? Hope you're well, Hagrid. Hagrid rolled up the note, gave it to an owl, which crammed it in its beak, went to the door, and threw the owl into the storm. Then he came back and sat down as though this was as normal as talking on a telephone. Harry realized his mouth was open and closed it quickly. Where was I? Said Hagrid, but at the moment Uncle Bennet's still ashen-faced but looking very angry moved into the firelight. He is not going, he said. Harry grunted. I'd like you to see a great muggle like you stop him, he said. A what? Said Harry interestedly. A muggle, said Hagrid. It's what we call a magic folks like them. Uh, and it's your bad luck you grown up in a family of the greatest muggles I had ever seen. We swear when we took him in our pots and stopped that rubbish, said our Uncle Balin. Swear we stopped it out of him. Wizards indeed. You knew, said Harry. You knew I'm a wizard. Knew? shrieked Aunt Petunia suddenly. Knew? Of course we knew. How could you not be, my drunken sister being what she was? Yes, she got a letter just like that and disappeared up to that school and come home every holiday with her pockets full of frog spawn turning teapots into rats. I was the only one who see her for what she was, a freak. But for my mother and father, oh no, it was Lily this and Lily that. They were proud to have a witch in the family. He stopped and drew it of breath and then went ranting on. It seemed she had been waiting to say all this for years. And then she met that Potter at school, and they left and got married and had you. And of course, I know you'll be just as same, just as strange, just as unnormal. And then, if you please, she went and got herself blown up, and we got landed on you. Harry had gone very white, and soon as he found his voice, he said, "Blown up? You told me they died in a car crash." "Car crash?" roared Hagrid, jumping up so angrily that the Dudley circled back in their corner. "How could the car crash kill Lily and James Potter? It's outrageous! A candor! Harry Potter, not knowing his own story when every kid in our world knows his name." "But why? What happened?" Harry asked urgently. The anger faded from Hagrid's face. He looked suddenly anxious. "I never expected this," he said in low, worrying voice. "I have no idea when Dumbledore told me there might be trouble getting hold of you. How much you didn't know." "Harry, I don't know if I'm the right person to tell you, but someone got. Yes, can't go off the Hogwarts not knowing." He threw a dirty look at Dudley's. "Well, it's best you know as much as I can tell you. Mind, I can't tell you everything. It's great mystery, Pottibet." Harry sat down, staring into the fire for a few seconds and then said, "It begins, I suppose, with a person called I, but it's incredibly, yeah, don't know his name. Everyone in our town knows who. Well, I don't like saying his name if I can help it, but no one does. Why not? Garping gargoyles, Harry. People are scared. Beamly, this is difficult to see. There was this wizard who went as bad as you could go. Worse than worse. His name was Hagrid gulped, but no word came out. "Could you write it down?" Harry suggested. "Yeah, can't spare it." "All right, Voldemort." Hagrid shivered. "Don't make me say it again. Anyway, this wizard, about 30 years ago now, 20 years ago now, started looking for followers. Got them too. Some were afraid, some just wanted a bit of his power. 'cause he was getting himself powered all right. Dark days, Harry. Didn't know who to trust. Didn't dare get friendly with strange wizards and witches. Terrible thing happened. He was taking over, 'cause some stood up for him and killed him. Damn horribly. Oh, one of the only safe place left was Hogwarts. Reckon Dumbledore was the only one you know who was afraid of. Didn't dare try taking the school. Not just that anyway. Now your mom and dad were the good witch and wizard and as I ever knew. Head boy and girl at Hogwarts. It's their day. Suppose the mystery is that you know who never tried to get them on his side before. Probably know they were too close to Dumbledore. The want anything to wet the dark side. Maybe he thought he could push them. Maybe he just wanted them out of his way. All anyone knew, he turned up in a village where you were living on Halloween 10 years ago. You was just year babe, a year old. He came to your house and Hagrid suddenly pulled out a very dirty, spotty handkerchief and blew his nose with a sound like foghorn. Sorry, he said, but it's that sad. I knew your mom and dad. A nicer people you couldn't find. Anyway, you know who killed them. And then, and this is a real mystery for the thing. He tried to kill you too. Wanted you clean job, of course, of it, I suppose. Or maybe he just liked killing by then. But he couldn't do it. Never wondered how he got the mark on your forehead. That was not ordinary cut. That's what you got when a powerful evil curse touched you. Took care of your mom and dad, your house even, but it didn't work on you. Um, then they why you're famous, Harry. No one ever lived after he decided to kill them. No one except you. And he kills some of the best witches and wizards of the age. On the Magners and Bones and Pirates. And you was only a baby and you lived. Something very painful was coming on Harry's mind. As Hagrid's story came to a close, he saw again a blinding flash of green light, more clearly than he had ever remembered it before, and he remembered something else from the first time in his life, a high, cold, cruel laugh. Hagrid was watching him sadly. Took you from ruined house myself, on Dumbledore's order. Fight you to this right. Those up old toots, said Uncle Bennet. Harry jumped. He had almost forgotten that the Dursleys was there. Uncle Bennet certainly seems to have got back his courage. He was glaring at Hagrid and his fist was clenched. Now, you listen here, boy, he said. I expect there's something strange about you. Probably nothing a good bit wouldn't have could. And as for all this about your parents, well, they were widows, not done it. And the world better off without them, in my opinion. As for all they got, can't get mixed up with those visiting types. Just what I expect. Always knew that come to a sticky end. But at that moment, Hagrid leaped from the sofa and drew a battered pink umbrella from inside his coat. Pointing it at Uncle Bennet like a sword, he said, "I'm warning you, Dursley. I'm warning you. And no one more word. In danger of being speared on the end of the umbrella by a bearded giant." Uncle Bennet's courage failed again. He flattened himself against the wall and fell silent. "That's better," said Hagrid, breathing heavily and sitting back down on the sofa, which this time sagged right down to the floor. Harry, meanwhile, still was questions to ask, hundreds of them. But what happened to poor Sorry? I mean, you know who? Good question, Harry. Disappeared, banished. Some night he tried to kill you. Makes you even more famous. That's the biggest mystery, see? He had gotten more and more powerful. Why did he go? Some say he died. Cause warping, to my opinion. Don't know if he had enough human left him to die. Some say he's still out there biding his time, but I don't believe it. People who was on his side came back to ours. Some of them came out of kind of trance. Don't reckon they could have done if he was coming back. Most of us reckon he's still out there somewhere, but lost his power. Too weak to carry on. 'Cause everything about you finished him, Harry. There was something going on that night he hadn't counted on. I don't know what it was. No one does. But something about you stopped him. All right. Hagrid looked at Harry with a warmth and respect blazing in his eyes. But Harry, instead feeling pleased and proud, he felt quite sure there had been a horrible mistake. A visit him? How could he possibly be? He'd spent his life being courted by Dursley and bolted by Aunt Petunia and Uncle Bennet. If he was actually really a visit, why hadn't they been turned into wolfy toads every time they tried to lock him in his cupboard? If he'd once definite the greatest sorcerer in the world, how come Dudley had always been able to kick him around like a football? "Hagrid," he said quietly, "I think you must have made a mistake. I don't think I could be a wizard." To his surprise, Hagrid chuckled. "Not a wizard, eh? Never made things happen when you're scared and or angry." Harry looked into the fire. Now he came to think about it. All things that had ever happened, his aunt and uncle are furious with him, had happened when Harry, had been upset or angry, chased by Dudley's gang, had somehow found himself out of their reach. trending out going to school with a ridiculous haircut. He managed to make it grow back. And the very last time Dahlia was hitting him, hadn't he got his revenge without even realizing he was doing it? Hadn't he set a boa constrictor on him? Harry looked back at Hagrid, smiling, and saw that Hagrid was probably being at him. See, said Hagrid, Harry Potter, not a wizard. You wait. You'll be right famous at Hogwarts. Harry looked at Hagrid, smiling, and saw that Hagrid was probably beaming at him. See, said Hagrid, Harry Potter, not a wizard. Wait, you wait. You'll be right famous at Hogwarts. But Uncle Ben wasn't going to give in without a fight. Haven't I told you he's not going? He hissed. He's going to Stonewall High, and he'll be grateful for it. I've read those letters, and he need all sorts of rubbish, spell books, and one, and if he wants to go, a great muggle like you can't stop him, growled Hagrid. Stop Lily and James Potter's son going to Hogwarts. You're mad. His name had been down even since he was born. He's off to the finest school in wizardry in the world. 7 years there, and he won't know himself. He'll be the youngest of his sorts for a change, and he will be under the greatest headmaster Hogwarts had ever had. Albus Dumbledore, I'm not paying for some old fool and teach him magic tricks, yelled Uncle Ben. But he had finally gone too far. Hagrid seized his umbrella and whizzed it over his head. Never, he thundered, insult Albus Dumbledore in front of me. He brought the umbrella swishing down through the air and pointed at Dudley. There was a fresh violet light and sound like a firecracker. A shape shrieled, and next second Dudley was dancing on a spot with his hand clapping over his fat bottom, howling in pain. When he turned his back on them, Harry saw a curly pigtail poking through a hole in his trouser. Uncle Ben roared, pulling out Petunia and Dudley into the other room. He cast one last terrified look at Hagrid and slammed the door in behind them. Hagrid looked down at his umbrella and stroked his beard. Should have lost my temper, he said finally. But it didn't work anyway. Meant to turn him into pig. But I suppose he was so much like pig anyway. There wasn't much left to do. He cast a sideways look at Harry under his bushy eyebrow. Be grateful you don't mention that to Hogwarts, anyone, he said. I am not supposed to use magic. Sticky situation. I've been allowed to do a bit to follow you and get your letter to you and stuff. One of the reason I was so keen to take on this job. Why aren't you supposed to use the magic? Asked Harry. Oh well, I was at Hogwarts myself, but I got expelled. To tell you the truth, I'm in 3rd year. They snapped my wand in half and everything, but Dumbledore let me stay at gamekeeper. Great man, Dumbledore. Why are you expelled? It's getting late, and we've got a lot to do by tomorrow, said Hagrid loudly. Gonna get to the town. Get all your books and that. He took his thick black coat and threw it to Harry. You can keep under it, he said. Don't mind if it wiggles a bit. I think I still got a couple of bone mice in one of the pockets.